Welcome to Fortuna's Events podcast series, where we engage in dynamic conversations with the pioneers, experts, and change makers driving progress across industries. In each episode, we explore how cutting-edge innovations, strategic approaches, and emerging trends are reshaping the future of businesses. Our goal is to offer fresh insights into the evolving challenges and opportunities that professionals face today. I'm your host Shweta, Senior Content Executive at Fortuna's Events. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting podcast series where we explore the dynamic world of architecture, engineering, and innovation. Today, we will be diving into how digital tools are reshaping the architecture and construction landscape. With us today is an expert who has been at the forefront of this transformation, Mohamed El Desouky. Mohamed, thank you so much for joining us today. With a career that spans over a decade, you've certainly seen the evolution of architecture and design through the lens of advanced digital tools. But before we dive into the specifics, could you tell us a little bit about your journey? Like, what sparked your interest in architecture and how did they lead you to specialize in BIM management?
First of all, hello everyone, and thank you, Shweta, for offering such a great opportunity to share my expertise and experience
The pleasure is always
with
ours.
everybody.
Yeah.
It's really a pleasure to have you all, and I hope that today's session will benefit and have informative for everyone here.
It will.
I would start talking about myself. Actually fascinated me about architecture. I cannot tell because up until now I couldn't figure it out, but I could say maybe it's something related to the genes because I'm a third generation architect. My grandfather was an architect, my uncle is an architect, so currently I've been drawn to it by nature or genes, or you can call it whatever. However, I was also keen and interested in the programming languages, like since I was in high school, even before in prep school, I was writing codes in this time it was called C++, and C++, and C#. And again, we can have the mixture between architecture and programming or computing science. That would be the BIM technology. And I started my journey with BIM since I was in university. I would say that was my second year in the architecture department back home in Egypt. So yeah, that sparked the fascination about the BIM technology or the building information technology as well. As I could remember, we got a representative from a very reputable architecture and engineering firm back at home. And he started explaining about how the technology and how is the virtual design and construction technology contribute into the collaboration, coordination, fast forwarding the project, reducing the mistakes and reducing we call it in modern terms now clashes on site, which helps directly in introducing the construction time and helps into project planning and reducing, of course, the cost of construction and all of that. Because basically you're running a simulation before you even put a nail on the ground. So that's where I come from with regards to the BIM. Since then, up until today, I've been working in the several projects in the region here, Egypt, Qatar, Saudi, Dubai. So basically, and of course, we all know that the Middle East and North Africa area is a rich environment for construction projects, specifically in Qatar before the World Cup, and now in Saudi and UAE for the 2030 vision of both countries.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
Impressive. Could you walk us through one of your most challenging project? And how did you streamline the whole process of it?
That would be I think there are several challenges and several projects. Like I could say there is the Doha Metro project. There is a couple of stadiums back in Qatar and Dubai and Doha. There is also one of my favorites was the Souk Waqif parking and cinema. It was I don't think that there is an underground cinema all over your region in Doha, Qatar. So it's these three projects I consider my dear project that I've been participated and worked on, and they have several challenges into them. For example, into the Doha Metro station, specifically the Red Line company was fortunate to have that project, and I was actually quite a pleasure and quite fortunate to work on that project, specifically the amount of details and the amount of paneling, the amount of like how could we do the station experience so that the client and after that user itself having it exactly as the designer intended to be, with the feeling of the materials, with the feeling of the ceiling, with the feeling of the space itself. It's amazing how you can see the vision of an artist, like an architecture artistic vision, be conveyed and constructed in reality. I would say like above 90% with the whole vision without any loss into it, which is actually the BIM technology contributed into aspect, into having the collaboration and coordination process with the designer and with the engineering and with the construction team simultaneously while solving the problem for the construction models and construction drawings to reach the site for execution.
Wow, interesting.
It is interesting.
Can we only use this tool for construction, or can we use it for anything else?
If we are talking about the BIM process itself, which stands for Building Information Modeling,
Yeah.
and just also as a part of the grander or the bigger process, which is virtual design and construction, practically if you can apply the same concepts on everything. And, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, this process was actually taken from the manufacturing process, which is in the days engineers were using Inventor model and inform the CNC's C machine back in factory to fabricate a sculpture or fabricate a tool or a part of a machine or something like that. So using the same concept and same technology, you're practically or using the same processes, you can practically fabricate things. You can model it in the physical applicable laws, physical applicable, which in the construction field, which is the construction codes and the local codes of any building, and engineering codes for the mechanical and structural engineers. Basically, you can do it.
So it's like as long as we can visually, anything can be done.
As long as you can visualize it and model it within applicable physical laws that can be done.
I see. Okay. All right.
Of course, it's not like it's not a streamlined, imaginative achieving or imaginative granting tool. No, however, there are some tools that codes and specifications and standards that needs to be followed to have it applicable and constructible on site.
I see. Let's say, like right now, you're working on several high pressure projects, right? How do you balance the technical aspects of BIM management and the creative vision of architecture?
That comes from having the knowledge and basically having the knowledge and the experience in these several fields. And yet again, I don't want to say that this is a standard or a best practice that needs to be followed, but however, this is my personal approach, and when anybody comes for me for an advice, want to start in the BIM field, where should we go, how should we do it, I would say, like, even if you are a BIM modeler or a BIM coordinator, you need to have the basic technical approaches and knowledge of the field that you are starting. And coming from an architectural background, I mentioned earlier, I started in the architecture school with the BIM tools. However, if we're talking about the career development, I started as, like, of course, a junior architect, then an architect, and a BIM modeler, architect, and a junior project manager, and a project manager and a BIM manager, and technical manager and a BIM manager, head of architecture department, then back again to purely BIM management. So mainly, you need to have a balance between the management knowledge, the architecture or the technical knowledge of your field, and then comes the process or the software knowledge and all of that. Because basically, you are managing a project. You are managing an aspect or even coordinating and managing the project. So you need to have a technical background, of course, other disciplinary knowledge, so that you can coordinate and manage, so that you can, within the coordination meetings, this discipline can go on, this clash is important, that it needs to be solved in that way, this timeline or this task would take the appropriate time, or that the appropriate time is requested, appropriate time is or going to the benefit and timeline or not. The consultant needs to optimize their scope or not, and so on. And you will not be able to grasp the whole picture unless you have the knowledge itself.
Yeah, understand. How has your journey been like all these years? It's been fun?
It's really fun.
I can see that you seem to really like what you're doing.
Basically, yet again, I told you like that's the main reason I could not define my attraction or my love for the process, because basically it's me, it's like a puzzle, and I love solving puzzles. Okay, so having this, having the architect's vision, as I told you, like I'm more into technical architecture than the concept design and the design architect, but having the vision, which is the design architect vision, the client desire, being that person that have the knowledge and the authority and the creativity make this come true, have its own sentimental and privileges and fun feelings.
I see. It must be some
Like
sort of ego boost for you.
is some kind of an egoistic approach to it, but that's why we're an architects. We are architects, have that tendency for being a little bit of egoistic. Yeah.
Interesting take. Okay, how do you manage with the risk then? Because there must be a certain risk that you are associated with. Like, how do you overcome those?
Of course, we have. Let me clarify first which type of risks you're asking to before we're talking about, like, because you have several types of risks.
Yes. Okay.
You
Let's
have
say compatibility issues with the software or inaccuracies.
well, compatibility issues with the software itself should not pose an issue for anybody who is endeavoring to stay relevant to the field, and that's talking about any field. If we're talking about the construction field, well, I would say back in the days they used to have technical drawings with manual. Me, myself, and my classmates and batchmates in school, we had our graduation projects in the technical architecture subject drawn manually with the pencils and pen. So how come now we're able to use and adapt to the virtual reality technologies? We evolve. You have to adapt and evolve. Back in the days, architects and construction drawings used to be done manually. Then came AutoCAD, then AutoCAD evolved to become AutoCAD multidisciplinary, then AutoCAD specified for each discipline, architecture, MEP, and structure, with all the plugins and Lisbon programming come into it to automate the processes a little bit. Then came the virtual design and construction concept and BIM, and we have multiple tools. We have Autodesk Revit, we have ArchiCAD, we have Bentley, and of course the other specialized softwares for their disciplines, and Navisource for coordination instead of overlaying all the layers and overlaying all the files via Xref and CAD. So you have to adapt and evolve. Otherwise, you will be a fossil and belongs to the museum, right?
Yes. Yep. We have to constantly be on the change.
The thing that I would like to maybe highlight for everybody who's interested to come into or to join the BIM field is, I would say, it's not as scary and it's not as complicated as the terms and the processes and all of that does it seem. Basically, think about it as you are creating something in real life. Like, if you want to actually excel the process and perfect it, look at it how it is being done. Look at it how it's being done on site, on the actual life. And this will make all the processes easier and all it come logically in life. Because basically on site you have certain information which you construct and make certain activities based on to construct the building or to make your product in real life. So basically it's the same as it is. It's virtual design and construction. You're doing the same processes but virtually. Just to save your construction cost and your construction time and have more streamlined and perfected product. But at the end of the day, believe me, the feeling that the user will say that entered this space or entered this building, I enjoyed it, I felt that kind of energy, that kind of magnificence, that hearing and reading these reviews, the feeling that you're going to feel is priceless.
Agree. I mean, it must. Have you ever felt like one or the other is inferior or superior to the other? Because you guys are visualizing and the architectures are building it, right? So is this like a common thing, or you guys have the ground understanding that it's complementing?
No, there is no superiority or somebody can take the credit for anything or any activity, because basically all of us are cogs in the same machine. Like if you can the clocksmiths. Okay, when you see a clock behind in the background, it's filled with this tiny, small and big and variant sized cogs and nuts and all of that. If one nut or if one screw or one cog got broken or didn't function as it's supposed to function, the purpose of the whole clock
is
gone.
Yeah.
So basically, there is no superior or inferior in the construction or in our field. Everybody is doing their job, and when everybody is doing their role and job to the accommodated and recommended and best practice standard dictated role, the whole process will be streamlined, and then the final product, which is in our case the building or the product, will deliver its function and will deliver its feeling, and everybody will be happy and taking the credit for it.
Fair point. And also to add on to what you were saying earlier, to do my research, I was going through your posts and whatever you were sharing, and most of them were pretty relatable, even though we are from different field. The process, the automated, all of them, like I could relate.
Here you go.
It is very much relatable. All right, I think we are at the end of it. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for sharing your insights today. What you do, it has been good to hear.
And I would like to show my appreciation for the opportunity given, and I hope that I provided insight or information, useful information for you guys, whoever are going to hear that, and hope also if we can meet or repeat it in several occasions.
I hope that too.
No worries.
Okay. For anyone who's listening and you are interested in learning more about how digital transformation is reshaping the future of infrastructure and design, please be sure to attend the Transport Infrastructure Construction Summit this October, taking place on 22nd and 23rd. It's been a pleasure having you with us, Mohammed. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
It's been my pleasure as well, Shrita. Thank you for the opportunity, and see you in the conference.
I will see you when I see you. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and stay tuned for more exciting episodes featuring industry leaders from around the globe. Until next time, stay curious and keep innovating.